Okay, so today we're gonna hit some chest and triceps. I usually train middle of the afternoon. It's usually pretty dead around here, but for some reason this seems to be the busiest day that we've ever had. So we're gonna do our best to work around everybody else that's in the gym here. Chest training is, for me, always working around pain. I've had a nagging injury in my bicep tendon shoulder area for the last 5 years, but I still try to do everything with as much intensity as I can. Some days are better than others. Some days the pain is just unbearable, but we always find something that we can do. So I don't have any specific set routine, but we'll hopefully be able to pull off a couple cool sets. Triceps, just going to be sticking to the usual arm training routine that I've been going with for 5 sets of 20 reps of 3 exercises. And that's just simply because it's a rumor I heard that that's what Flex Lewis did to build his arms. So that's what we're going with. A couple products I've been taking for my pre-workout lately. Ritual from A&S and Dilate from A&S. Ritual for the stims, Dilate for the pumps. I like a milder stimulant, a pre-workout with a good dose of beta-alanine, and I find Ritual is really good for that. Not too much caffeine at 200 milligrams. I like the beta-alanine tingles. Makes me feel like something's working and I'm ready to go once I feel those tingles. Dilate I've used for years and years. I take it both in my pre-workout and in my intra-workout. It's just a great product to really get some more blood into the muscles and enhance the pump while you're training. These both at Supplement World in Saskatoon. Great service, great products. So we're starting with flat press on a Smith machine today. Smith machine just helps me to find a good bar path that doesn't trigger my pain as much. Today it's kind of achy, but still gonna try to push some decent weight. You kind of want to pick, you definitely want to pick the movements that are gonna exert the most energy right off the bat. The movements that you can push the most amount of weight with, the most intensity. We'll start with that stuff, big compound movements. So for chest, we're picking a big press. I don't love the flat press, but I am a little bit stronger on it than an incline, and it seems to be a little bit easier on my shoulder. So that's what we're going with for the next little while. And then from here, we're gonna go to a machine incline press where we can put a little bit more intensity and maybe go past failure today. So I'm gonna start with our first working set, 325 pounds on the Smith flat press. I honestly haven't done this really in months, so we'll see how it goes. So on that last set there, we went definitely faster tempo than what I would like to usually do, but I find sometimes with this exercise, pressing in general, if I just don't think and just let the weight fall, I don't overcorrect and find a guarding movement that's gonna hurt. So that actually was pretty good for pain, that set. But what we're gonna do now is back off the weight. Took 40 pounds off, and we're gonna just try to do some really slow, controlled reps. Probably won't get as many as the last set, but just focusing really hard on quality, tempo, and reps here. Second exercise, plate loaded incline. First set felt terrible for pain, so we dropped the weight. Made a seat adjustment, the set felt good. Tried to do a rest pause set, but clearly didn't have the strength or energy to do a proper rest pause, so I ended up dropping the weight just to make sure I got some good quality reps and contractions in that set instead of trying to get 1 or 2 more reps with the same weight. Sometimes I do that, I just go off instincts and feel. There's no real rule to how you perform intensifiers. There's just push yourself to go beyond failure any way that you can while maintaining quality and intensity best that you can. Chest is feeling really pumped right now after that set. So we're gonna hit some pec deck next. I go back and forth on there between using it for heavy sets or higher rep sets. Today I think we're gonna do some higher rep stuff based off of the bicep tendon giving me some issues. There's usually a certain weight limit or resistance that I can go up to before it starts to hurt. So sometimes it's a better strategy to go with lighter weight that inflicts no pain and find failure a little later on in the set through higher reps. It's sometimes harder to do it that way just because endurance fatigues faster than the muscle does, but if you can find that sweet spot where you're failing in 12 to 15 reps, minimizes the risk of injury and you still get all the hypertrophy benefits from that. So that's what we're going to do on that exercise today. So I like to use the pec deck to really just slow everything down in the workout. You can get a little caught up in your pressing, trying to be explosive and intense and outperform yourself every week. This exercise, I would just like to take it nice and slow. Use it to stretch the muscle out. You've put a lot of blood into your pecs at this point in your workout, so stretch the muscle out. And focus just on contracting it as hard as possible. There's no real superior way to do this exercise. Some guys can do it with their elbows bent, some do it with the arms straight out. I can feel it differently every single day. Just, if you struggle with it, just shut your eyes and just think about flexing your chest as hard as you can and just try to touch your hands together. Don't overthink it, don't round your shoulders, but also don't worry about being so perfect as to what you see somebody else doing. If you are fighting for those extra reps and you do let yourself come off of the bench and squeeze your shoulders forward, as long as you're still contracting your pecs, you're still doing what you're intending to do. And the goal of working out is just to maximize your intensity and perform in the gym. This is a great exercise for that because it really forces you to feel every fiber in your pec working. So I got my intra-workout drink here. We got 10 grams of EAAs, 10 grams of creatine. We get huge with 10 grams of glutamine, help with recovery. We got another scoop of dilate, just to keep the nutrients flowing to the cells, get good pump through the workout. And then we got a few grams of pink salt to help with energy, endurance, pumps, and that's my secret. I don't really care about the flavors, but I think this is Believe Fit sour gummies with blue raspberry or blue popsicle dilate. Yeah, sip on that. Okay, so just finished up there on the Atlantis. I just call it a horizontal press. I like the exercise because it mimics a dumbbell path. You can really squeeze the pec on the press. It is still a little bit hard for me to do when my arm's giving me issues. It's a little bit unstable. That hurt more than I liked. So just turned it into a quick drop set to finish off the pecs, put everything I had into the set. We're gonna move on to triceps now. So instead of doing any warm-up work or anything like that, we're just gonna jump right into it. First set's gonna be 20 reps. Every set after is gonna be 20 reps. I'm gonna be increasing the weight each time, trying to make it harder and harder. And then by the last 2 sets, the goal is to have to find an extra way to get right to 20. So whether that's dropping the weight to do a drop set, doing a rest pause, doing some cheat reps, whatever you feel you need to do in order to hit that 20. But this way you're just doing essentially 2 working sets with 3 hard warm-ups. So we're gonna do that for this and both the other tricep exercises today, and then get a nice big pump. I like to use 2 ropes just to really allow myself to contract my tricep as hard as possible. I find personally when I use just 1 rope, I end up almost rounding my shoulders a little bit just to really press down and contract the shoulders. So with the 2 ropes, I can kind of sit a little bit more straight back, upright, pull the shoulders back, and squeeze those triceps like a kickback. You're a little weaker when you do it this way, but our goal isn't to move weight, it's to contract weight, and this is by far the most superior way that I've found to feel a tricep contraction on any sort of cable press down. So. You know, everywhere that you look, on social media and magazines, TV, somebody's trying to sell you, you know, the perfect exercise, the perfect workout, perfect protocol, perfect diet. And everybody's just overcomplicating everything. This is the simplest shit that there is. You know, I've been doing the same stuff for the last 10 years, the same exercises, and just constantly trying to get better at them. Whether that be getting stronger at them, gaining more control on the exercise, doing more reps than I could before. You know, it didn't matter what the goal was. The exercise never changed. It was just working to accomplish different milestones on each of those exercises. You know, you can't tell me that anybody has mastered the squat or mastered the bench press. There's always, the fascinating thing about training is there's always something more that you can squeeze out of that set, or sixth or seventh gear that you can find. That's what amazes and fascinates me, is I still think I haven't even scratched the surface of what intensity is in training. That's the most fascinating part of bodybuilding to me, is the intensity in the training. You know, I'll forever be chasing what it means to tap into that, you know, Jay Cutler, Dorian Yates type mentality, where you literally can't do an ounce more of effort. Just keep it simple when you're structuring your workouts. Just pick 2, 3, 4 exercises and get really fucking good at them. Don't worry about anything else. If you find that you're doing a lot of mindless volume and you don't really, you know, if you feel you're questioning your intensity, my advice would be to pick 2 exercises per muscle group. Only give yourself those 2 exercises, and that's your workout. You have to figure out how to get the most that you can out of, you know, 2 sets of those 2 exercises, and that'll give you a really good gauge of what intensity means. You know, even for myself, sometimes I get lost in my training where I am doing too much fluff shit to try and make up for lack of intensity, and then you end up with volume workouts. For me, it's always going to be about intensity and finding my way back to what intensity is and trying to get the most out of the least amount of sets. So you just got to give yourself a limit, and that's where I think this whole top set, back off set thing is gaining so much traction. But I think a lot of people don't fully understand what that means, and it literally means you have 2 sets of an exercise to squeeze everything you fucking can out of it and force your muscle to grow. So take that mentality with you into your next workout. Don't worry about what you see people doing online. Just pick the most basic thing and just try to make it as hard as possible. At first, I would try to get as strong as possible on exercises. And once you've really developed that strength, I would try to get as controlled as possible on those exercises, slowing down the tempo, forcing the contractions, throwing in pause reps, timing the tempo of the set, worrying about time under tension. All those things, all those tools are ways to drive your intensity and progress without even looking at another exercise. People want their programs switched up and changed all the time. I've been doing the exact same program for 2-3 years pretty much. Not a lot has changed other than maybe what I hit on each day. And the driving factor behind that is I'm still trying to get as good as I can at a bench press or at a squat or at a dip or whatever it may be. I'm trying to get everything out of that exercise and movement. And that's something I don't think anybody can honestly say that they've done yet. So try to remember that when you're building your own little programs and you're wandering around the gym trying to figure out what to do. Just pick a few exercises and stick to them until you've absolutely mastered them. There's no need to change. There's no need to do these mesocycles or what's that deload week shit. Like, if you stall and you plateau on an exercise, don't fucking deload. That's a good time to pick a new exercise, and that's a new challenge. Because the exercise itself is going to be a new movement to you, you're immediately not going to be strong on it. You're going to be relatively strong, but there's going to be room for progress. So you get to avoid the whole deload waste of a week, and you get to keep progressing in your training on a new exercise Treat each exercise like its own sport, really. It's its own discipline, it's a completely different movement, and you have to spend time and repetitions training the brain, connecting with the muscles, getting good at each movement.